All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dids in the Dugout, our weekly gambling show. We have a new leader in the clubhouse after
Who is
last
it? Is it
week.
me or is it you?
It's definitely not me. I
Oh.
refused to even give my record out last week. That's how bad I'm doing, and it didn't get any better this past week. So, and I'm kind of playing some mind games a little bit with myself here with this week's picks. So, if it goes poorly, then maybe it'll end up helping the Rebels in the long run. So that's kind of what I'm going for right here this week.
Right.
So, if I can't succeed, maybe they can.
What kind of odds you getting on those mind games? You might ought to start betting on those, man.
Good question.
I need to bet on anything besides picks I give out on this show.
Or just bet on anything but football.
Yeah, that's actually another really good idea.
Basketball starts on Monday.
Yeah, and it's funny you should say that. I actually built my first NBA model on Rhythm this past week and started tracking it. Bet just a couple games so far. That's gone pretty well with that Rhythm model in NBA, but going to give it another week or so and get some data on it before I start using it full time. And speaking of college basketball, Rhythm has their college basketball model that should be released before Monday's games tip off. They put that out this past week. They're working on that model. It's coming soon, so hopefully we'll see it towards the end of this week or this weekend, and then we can start building models for college basketball. And Hitch, I think it would be really fun. What we're going to do is we're going to get together, build a college basketball rhythm model, and go head to head with your spreadsheet you've been using for like the last 2 or 3 years, and see which one ends up winning out.
That'd be cool.
All right.
Yeah. So if you haven't tried Rhythm, go download the app. It's RITHMM. Build all different kinds of models: college football, NFL, NBA starting up now, and then college basketball coming soon, and they'll have a model for that too. So y'all go check that out. 14-day free trial. They introduced a new AI chat where you can ask questions of the AI with sports gambling, stuff like that, if you have any questions for them. So it's a really cool app, and they do a little bit of
it looks very familiar, Chad.
What's that? The Allen Iverson helping out?
The AI bot. It looks familiar, as we've probably seen it quite often every day.
Understood. I see where you're going there.
Yeah, so all right, so we will go ahead and get into last week's picks real quick.
Please do.
Yeah, there are 2 constants on this show. I'm going to go 2 and 4, and Chad's going to go 4 and 2.
Heater. We're on the heater.
Right? So I go 2 and 4 minus 2.3 units again for the 3rd straight week. And this is 2 straight weeks you went 4 and 2. You went 4-1-1 3 weeks ago, Chad. So you were on a sure enough heater, but you went 4 and 2 for plus 4 units, and Hitch 2 and 4 and missed his big 5 unit play there with the Boise over. So he went minus 5.5 units last week, and that brings the total. Chad, you're all of a sudden winning. You are now 27 and 23 plus 6.82 units.
Yeah.
And Hitch is bringing up the tail at 27 and 26, and he just fell into the red at minus 0.7 units.
My favorite thing about that whole 10-minute thing that you just went on is
we've only been recording for just under 4, so that's
right. But you talked about your consistency, Chad's consistency. It's been X number of weeks. Not one time did you mention this is the very first week I've fallen under, positive numbers, and the very first week that I haven't had a positive week, maybe just a little bit every week. That seems like something that should be brought up too. Maybe.
Well, now you've got me wondering. There's no way you've not had a negative week all year long. So I'm going to double check you on that real quick.
And while you're doing that, I think it needs to be said about how I nailed my Oregon handicap last week. Spot on about how I thought Utah was overrated, and then the Ducks just whipped that ass for 4 straight quarters in Salt Lake City last week. So
I think also it needs to be said that if I ever am that confident in a play ever go the other way with it, because I have gotten so blinded. I don't know, the 50 people listening, whoever's listening, go the other way. I don't know what it is, but every once in a while I get so blinded by something. I sent these guys a picture of the spreadsheet they were referencing. I handicapped that game for the under. Like I only had them scoring like 45 points, and I'm so stubborn and stupid that I was like, oh no, I know better than that. Like, and so my point is, if that ever happens again, if I go above that, go the other way because I'm blinded by something.
Yeah, and Hitch, I'm going to cut you off real quick. I regret to inform you that week 3, you were negative 0.2 units. Week 4, negative 0.3. Week 5,
sorry,
negative
I was not
0.3.
counting the plus money plays that you
week 6 minus 2.4. That was 4 straight weeks in the negative. So
I appreciate you keeping everybody straight here, dude.
Do what?
I appreciate you keeping everybody straight here, man.
Well, that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to win games, apparently. So that's I should at least keep business in place.
2 out of 3 of us, huh?
Yeah, that's right. So, all right. Well, before we get into it, me and Hitch recorded a show last night previewing the Ole Miss Texas A&M game and kind of went around the SEC a little bit. Since Chad wasn't on that, I wanted to get his take on the Ole Miss A&M game coming up this Saturday.
I mean, I'm worried about their defensive line, right? I still don't know how good we are. I'll be honest. I do not like our red zone offense. I am happy with how the defense has performed the last couple of weeks. I think Golding's done a hell of a job, and I don't see a ton of issues against the Texas A&M offense. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I see a 20-17 game, something along those lines. I don't see a lot of points just because of how I feel poorly our offensive line has been. I mean, our havoc rating on offense, we're 113th in the country on offense. And their defense is number 3. Now, granted, we're number 5 in havoc on defense, which is hell. I'm really happy with that. But I always tend to be a little negative on the Ole Miss side, so I don't feel great about it. But we have played Texas A&M well the last couple of seasons, especially with Lane Kiffin being the coach. So I don't see it being a blowout either way. But I do not see it being a game where our offense does a lot just because of how poor our offensive line has played and the animals that they have on their front seven. So I see it being a straight underplay, and I could see it going either way by 3 points.
Yeah. I think me and Hitch kind of said the same things yesterday when we talked too. We both had the total somewhere in the mid, pushing the upper 40s at best, right? I mean, if you told me it was 28-20 Ole Miss, then I would buy it. But even at that point, you're still 6 points away from the total. I looked at it earlier; it was 54 going into this afternoon on Wednesday. So we kind of shared the same thoughts there. A&M's defense is obviously really, really good. It's what's kept them in games. They have such a hard time scoring, though. So if Ole Miss can find the end zone a few times, Lane scheme them up a little bit, then I think the Rebels will end up being fine this weekend. I did find it interesting. The total is climbing all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's up to what, 54 now?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. But so I'm going to let that ride out for another day or two and see if it keeps going in that direction. And I'm going to end up hammering the under. I can go ahead and tell you for 100% fact right now, I will be on that.
I think this needs to be a week where Lane takes field goals instead of his traditional going forward on 4th down, because they're going to be able to kick the ball. I mean, they've got a good kicker, and we know Jimbo's going to play for field goals. And this is going to be a game where Lane has to take points when they're presented to them, because I don't know how often we're going to be able to make drives deep into their territory. Yeah,
that's it's actually funny you say that. I looked at that yesterday too about the kicking game. A&M is actually second to last in the SEC in field goal percentage. Now, now they've attempted a lot of field goals. That's part of it. They're like 17 for 25, something like that on the year. I don't have a number in front of me anymore. But 72%, which, I mean, again, if it comes down to a 72% play, you would still rather not be on the other side of it. But if it comes down to the kicking game, at least you might have that in your favor. They are second worst in the SEC in field goal percentage. So actually way ahead of Missouri, which kind of surprised me, considering that their kicker had that 61-yarder or whatever it was there several weeks back.
Well, it's funny you bring up A&M missing kicks. I think it was them missing a kick last week that got me in the money against South Carolina, and you lost some money. So yeah,
absolutely did. It sucked. But obviously, I knew how that was going to turn out when I saw what side you were on, what side I was on. So
that's true.
That's it works, though. It's fine. So all right, well, we'll go ahead and dive into Week 10 now. It's kind of strange we're already into Week 10. It's really flying by all of a sudden. Rebels are in a real good spot, though. Real quick before we start that, college football rankings came out last night. Rebels debuted at number 10. I think that's a good spot for us. There's opportunities ahead of us, obviously, here in a couple weeks. If we're able to take care of A&M this weekend, you go to Athens, and then you can really make a statement there to climb the rankings a little bit. So good job by Ole Miss getting in the top 10 there. It's where you want to be, at least in the first playoff ranking. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll start with the heater here. So go ahead, Jeb.
All right, so I don't typically play a lot of midweek games, at least with my picks, but I've got one for Thursday night. Duke minus 12.5 against Wake Forest. The Duke defense should be able to make the difference in this game. Wake Forest is the worst team in the country in havoc allowed. 1 out of every 4 plays has resulted in some sort of havoc, whether it's a tackle for loss, fumble, interception, or pass breaking up. Opponents average over 4 sacks a game against Wake Forest. Now, the Duke offense, especially since Riley Leonard got hurt against Notre Dame, they have not been high-powered by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm expecting a lot of short fields for Duke due to how well their defense plays and how porous the Wake Forest offensive line has been. So give me Duke under 2 touchdowns at home against Wake Forest on Thursday night. And I got that at minus 110. So minus 12.5, minus 110.
And I think Leonard's going to be back.
Yeah, he played last week. They did not play well against Louisville, but he's playing. But they just have not been really great. It's the defense that carries them, and luckily their opponent is not very good offensively.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. All right, Hitch, what you got first?
All right, so this week I really tried to utilize rhythm, built a model, and that's where I started. And then I went to my spreadsheet, and if they kind of matched up, I kind of went from there. Oddly enough, I've got some unders here.
Well, that's not your style.
Not well, maybe that's best thing for me. Oklahoma State under 66. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. I can't remember what it is. It's high. Look it up real quick for me. But I've got it at a 66.7 win probability, 24.7 edge on rhythm. This was my highest rated play on rhythm. And then I started looking at it. Neither offense is real explosive. Oklahoma year over year tends to be, but this year they rank pretty low when it comes to explosive plays. They're just kind of, putting one foot in front of the other. And the other day against UCF, I think they had a couple of double-digit play drives, which happens very rarely for them. They got exposed by Kansas, but the Oklahoma State Cowboys are not the Kansas Jayhawks, right? So I think that Oklahoma's defense is good. Probably not as good as we thought it was going into that game, but I think it's better than we think coming out of it. And there's a lot of things that line up for an under here. Neither team's particularly good at third down. Neither team's particularly good at scoring in the red zone. So hopefully we get some field goals back and forth and we stay under the number here, whatever it is, like 59.
I got it at 6. It's at 61 currently.
61.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot. I think I haven't decided yet. I don't know if either one of y'all are betting or not, but I think I like Oklahoma State in this game. It seems to be a lot more emotional and personal to them, this being the last bedlam. They kind of feel shunned a little bit by Oklahoma jetting to the SEC and basically ending this rivalry. And Mike Gundy, being an Oklahoma State alum himself, he's going to want this damn game, and I think he's going to pull out all the stops. And I think last I saw it was Oklahoma -6 was the last
Yeah,
one I saw
that's
earlier
the correct
today.
number.
So, and is this in Norman or Stillwater?
No, it's in Stillwater.
Stillwater.
Yeah, see, that's tough, man. I think I do like Oklahoma State. I hadn't dug into it enough to get on the side one way or another yet, but my gut tells me that that Oklahoma State might pull one out here in the last bedlam.
Yeah, I wish Oklahoma. I like that angle. I wish Oklahoma would have won last week. I'd love it even more. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be more personal for the Cowboys for sure.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, my first pick, we're going to go to Columbia, South Carolina to start things off at 11 o'clock. And this was one that I saw on. It was either Sunday or Monday when the lines first came out. That I couldn't believe how big the number was. And it's only gotten bigger since then. It was 14.5 then. It's all the way up to 16. Jacksonville State plus 16 against South Carolina. And I have no idea why. I expect Jacksonville State to win this game outright. South Carolina's offensive line is bad.
They're bad.
They're beat up. They've had injuries all over the place. They haven't been able to block anybody. Jacksonville State, for whatever reason, I've probably seen more Jacksonville State games than any other team not named Ole Miss this year. I just keep getting drawn to them. I keep watching them. Probably they play so many midweek games. That's why.
That's what I was fixing to say.
Rich Rod is the angriest person on the sidelines in the country.
Yes, he is. And his defense takes that attitude with them out on the field because they are meaner than hell out there. They beat the hell out of you the entire game. They're really physical. Defense has played really, really well all year long. So give me Jacksonville State plus 16. Like I said, I think that they're probably going to end up winning this thing outright. And we're going to get back to that a little later in the show when I get to my plus money play. But the way they run the ball, too, that's another thing. They run the ball so well, which we know that from Rich Rod's time here in Oxford. He's really creative, especially when he has a quarterback to be able to do it. He has that at Jacksonville State with Webb. He's played really well for them. So give me Jacksonville State plus 16. Not shocked at all if they end up winning outright.
Yeah, I looked at that game. I was trying to find reasons to get on South Carolina, but I couldn't find any due to the injuries. But yeah, I could see them keeping it close. I don't see them winning personally, but I don't think South Carolina. I don't like the non-conference games late in the season. So that's another reason why I like your angle, just because what is South Carolina playing for here, right?
That's another.
Yeah, they got more conference games to play, and you got Jacksonville State coming in.
And the season's gone so poorly up to this point already. So you kind of worry about kids quitting on you a little bit. But to Shane Beamer's credit, that hadn't happened to him quite yet. They're just so beat up that's I think is the main reason they're having so much trouble right now. But either way, that still plays in this game. I mean, they're still beat up going into it, and Jacksonville State didn't. Rich Rod's done one hell of a job down there. So I'm going to ride with the Jacksonville State Gamecocks here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that'll be interesting. All right. My next play, Memphis Tigers, minus 13.5, minus 110 against South Florida. Now, last week, Memphis, their defense got torched. Yeah. North Texas almost put up 600 yards. This is a different offense they're playing, averaging less than 2 points per drive. And the Memphis offense, look, they're going to put points up. The South Florida defense, 122nd in PPA. I just don't think South Florida has the weapons to keep up like North Texas had. 14 in the country in points per opportunity. That's Memphis. I think that since it's at home, I've got them under 2 touchdowns. I'll take that. 13.5 minus 110. Memphis Tigers against South Florida.
Yeah, and you're talking about that game against North Texas. They were up pretty big in that game.
They were. They still won, but it was a lot closer.
Yeah, they ended up not covering because of it. So maybe that's something to kind of get them locked back in to play a full 4-quarter game, hopefully, this weekend.
Yeah.
All right, Hitch.
Boise State, Fresno minus 3. I didn't want to go with Boise again, but, I'm going against them this time. Now, Fresno State -3 on Rhythm. This one has it's 63% win percentage and a 23% edge. When I got to looking at it and digging in, Fresno State might torch this Boise secondary.
They're good.
And Fresno's offense matches up really well against the Boise D. Fresno doesn't run it great. And if Boise has any plus side on the D, it's that they're good against the run, and then it's the flip side on defense or on the other way. So Boise's D is giving up 125 yards per game when it comes to rushing, but when it comes to throwing the ball, they're giving up 8.5 yards per catch. And on the flip side, Fresno is averaging 7.5 yards a catch while boasting the 30th best pass success rate in the country. So I think Fresno's going to air it out. They convert third downs, and they're good at putting points on the board once they get across their opponent's 40. So Fresno State at home, I think they have the better defense. Give me the better defense at home minus the field goal.
Yeah, hard to argue with anything you said there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so my second pick, we're going to stay in the SEC, and we've got Florida at home against Arkansas this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and take the Gators at -6.5. Got this number under a touchdown. Arkansas going through all the turmoil they are. They fired their offensive coordinator, which might end up being an improvement for them. That is one thing that actually scared me a little bit. But still no Rocket Sanders. I'm not sure he's going to end up playing the rest of this year. KJ's really struggled in this offense. Florida's not that bad. They played pretty well. Graham Hurts has really played well for Billy Napier and the guys down there. They just ran into a buzzsaw last week with Georgia. I mean, it's just the way it is. But I feel like Florida's played pretty good. They're at home, and this is really the time where you see what kind of coach Sam Pittman is. Because if he can keep these guys locked in and engaged, heading down to the swamp after the season they've had so far and everything that's going on, then that's going to be pretty impressive in and of itself if he can at least keep them locked in. I'm not sure that's going to be the case. He's going to be able to do it. I'm not sure that Arkansas is able to score a whole bunch. And like I said, give me less than a touchdown at home with Florida.
I like this one. I wanted to get on Florida. I looked at it. And the only reason I'm not is for whatever reason the model I built in Rhythm liked Arkansas.
Mine did too. That's why I didn't. But I didn't like that. I wanted a touchdown if I was going to go with Arkansas. So under a touchdown, I didn't want it. So I get that. Yeah, it should be an ugly game. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Chad, what you got?
All right, I think I lost my first total last week with Kentucky and Tennessee. Damn near lost it in the first half. I'm going to go to another total this week. My only one. It's going to be an over. Florida Atlantic and UAB over 60. I got that at 115. Look, the UAB offense has been really, really good. PPA of 26th in the country, 8th in the country when they run the ball. But as good as their offense has been, their defense has been pathetic. Worst in the country against the run, 129th in stuff rate, 117th in havoc. Now, we talked earlier about the South Florida offense going up against Memphis. A few weeks ago, they put up 35 and 471 yards against UAB. So this should be a shootout. Florida Atlantic is not special, but they are better than South Florida on offense. I don't see UAB stopping them. Give me over 60 for an offense that I don't think Florida Atlantic's going to stop, and definitely an offense that UAB is not going to stop.
Yeah. Tom Herman's quietly done a pretty good job down there at FAU, right?
And Trent Dilfer's done pretty well at UAB.
Yeah, Dilfer's done good too. So that's kind of interesting seeing these two guys go head to head. Two guys that might be up for some bigger coaching jobs here in another year or two. You've seen Herman already get into the Power 5 once with his stint at Texas, and Dilfer's always been known as one of the great football minds, even back in his analyst and playing days too. So this will be really interesting to see with those two guys going head to head.
Agreed.
All right, Hitch.
Yeah, well, I said that I didn't have, or I had some unders for you, but that doesn't mean I don't have an over. So give me FAU UAB over 60.
Hey, there we go.
Everything that Chad said. This was also on my rhythm in the model that I built. But like I said, everything Chad said there. You're looking at UAB with a defensive success rate that ranks 132nd, 133rd in the country. They're terrible against the rush. They're awful at stopping third downs. My entire row for UAB is red, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how people do the thing where it's green, then the other, it's red. So the one thing I didn't hear you say it, but the one thing that I noticed about this game was the offense, right, of FAU is in the middle of the country when it comes to explosiveness. The UAB defense, not great, and then it's a flip on the other way. The UAB offense, can be explosive, and FAU isn't great at stopping it. So when it comes to totals, that's one of the things I look at are the explosive plays, and this one lines up, like you said, to be a shootout. So over 60.
All right, very good. Y'all both agree on that, and y'all gonna make me look at that when we hop off here in just a little bit. All right, my third play, we're going to travel down to Athens, Georgia and Missouri playing. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs minus 14.5.
You ain't playing against
No.
Georgia again?
No, I ain't doing that again. Every single time somebody tries to flex their muscles in that division or in this conference in general, Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs say, hold the hell up.
You were on Kentucky a few weeks ago against them, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. It was over in the first quarter. As a matter of fact, it was this exact same number. I had plus 14.5 for Kentucky. Fooled me twice, right? So
has it gone down to 40? It was at 15.5 yesterday.
So 15, you better get 15.5. That's what it's at right now.
I got 14.5 just a couple hours ago.
Okay.
Down. But again, I don't care that it's over 2 touchdowns. Missouri's coming in there. They're high on themselves, one-loss team, number 12 in the playoffs, and this is their chance to really take a stranglehold on the SEC East, quite frankly, if they're able to pull off the upset. Kirby and the Bulldogs aren't going to let that happen. They're not going to give them any chance to even think about it happening. They're going to come in, and they're going to squash them from the start. So give me the Bulldogs minus 14.5. They're not getting me twice here.
You don't think Kirby's looking ahead to the Rebels next week?
Not a chance in
But I was fixing to say.
No chance in hell. He knows that this is basically his only competition in the East this year. And then if Ole Miss were to pull something off next weekend and beat them in Athens, then he has a chance to go to Knoxville and squash the other one that has a chance. So
That's true.
But 3 really big weeks, something I'm sure we're going to end up talking about next weekend as long as the Rebels take care of business. This weekend against Texas A&M, it's going to line up for a massive game, 2:30 CBS in Athens. That's what it's going to be if both of these teams win this Saturday. Yeah. They use their flex. So, but I fully expect Georgia to take care of business, take care of it in a big way, and kind of put Missouri back in their place a little bit. Let them start fighting it out for second.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I would. There's no way I could play Missouri on this game.
No chance.
Okay, it's up to me. All right. Pac-12. Washington State minus 13.5 versus Stanford. I got them at 110. The Cougs need 2 more wins to get bowl eligible. They got road games against Cal and Washington. Cal's been a lot better than we thought. Washington's obviously really good.
Yeah.
And they've got home games against Stanford and Colorado. They have to have this game. Stanford just played their guts out against Washington last week at home. Now you got to go to a tough place to play in Pullman. Stanford's D is dead last in PPA, 129th against the pass. That's how Washington State attacks you. Washington State's defense is not anything special. They can't run the ball. I'm taking an emotional play here. I'm going to take the Cougs less than 2 touchdowns at home against Stanford.
Yeah, I like that play as well. Kind of like you said, Stanford playing the game of their lives last weekend as well. It kind of plays into this too. There's going to be you would think a little bit of a letdown. Pullman's a tough place to play. It's one of those underrated places. I know I say it all the time. It's that and Corvallis, Oregon. That's another one that's just really tough to play. And then going down to Utah too. So it's just one of those sneaky places that's really hard to play. So yeah, I do like this one. What you got, Hitch?
Iowa State -2.5.
Ooh, I like that one too.
Yeah, I do too.
That talking about playing your guts out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kansas did that last week. And
Classic letdown spot.
Yep.
Yeah, and y'all know me and my little nuggets that I look for when it comes to these trends and stuff. And I found one on this one. Following a top 20 upset as a 7+ underdog. And then the next week, if the dog is a dog again, then they are 28-51, which is 35% against the spread. And even better, they are 13-33 if they are set up. Let's see, if the win came at home. So last week, they were at home, they won. So it knocks it down even further to 28% against the spread the next week. So this is another rhythm play, 60% win percentage, 17% edge. The Kansas defense is bad. They're bottom in the country in most categories. Like I said, they're coming off that huge win, and Iowa State just seems to be getting better and better each week. That freshman quarterback is playing really well, and the Iowa secondary is really, really good. They're only averaging 5.8 yards per catch, or offenses are only averaging that against them. And so, I think that Kansas offense is going to be in trouble against this Iowa State defense. And I think Iowa's going to do enough offensively against that really, really bad Kansas defense to win this one. When this one was under a field goal, this was an automatic bet for me almost, because anything over this, little nervous about that Kansas offense. But a field goal, -2.5 at home. Kansas coming off that big win, classic letdown spot. Yeah, I'll take Iowa State Cyclones -2.5.
Yep. I like that one a lot. I'll probably be on that one too.
Yeah, I probably will too. It's another one I looked at for all the reasons you just mentioned. So, all right, my fourth pick, we've got Washington traveling to USC.
We do.
Yeah, and I'm going to take the Huskies -3 here. That USC defense can't stop anybody.
They're bad.
And there is no chance in hell they're going to stop Michael Penix and that offense. I know they've struggled since that game against Oregon, that big win there. But USC hasn't been playing real well either.
No.
I don't care that this is at the Coliseum. I don't care that it's in LA. Give me Washington. They've got everything in front of them, so much to play for right now. They're undefeated. If they keep winning, they're going to be one of the 4 teams if they end up going undefeated and winning the Pac-12. Penix playing for the Heisman as well on top of that. So give me Washington -3. I think that number's way too small, considering that they could probably score a touchdown every drive, as bad as that Trojans defense has been.
Yeah, I can't fathom placing a bet with the Trojans at a number like this. It just doesn't make sense.
No, I wanted this under because it's 76.
Yeah,
but I can't.
But you couldn't.
No way.
Yeah, you couldn't find a reason for it.
No.
Yeah. So.
Sure
All right,
couldn't.
Chad.
All right. I did have some plays that almost made it. I've got them in my account, but I didn't. They're not one of my 5. I did have Southern Miss at -2.5 against UL Monroe.
Oh.
And I like Tulsa -4 against Charlotte. Charlotte stinks. Tulsa's not good either, but I do like those two. So my last play, give me the Trojans 3.5 against Washington, -110. So I think this is the buy low point for USC. Their defense they're so bad, but that offense is still explosive. They got a Heisman winner under center. And Washington, something's wrong with Washington. Last 2 weeks, they almost lost to Stanford. They almost lost to Arizona State. The Huskies are vulnerable against the run. And while the Trojan offense, they do like to throw the ball, when they run the ball, with the 3rd best in the country in PPA. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be the last team that has the ball. Give me the home team more than a field goal. So I got 3.5. More than a field goal. Give me the home team. Minus 110, 3.5 USC.
Yeah, and kind of one thing about Washington, they were struggling with Stanford and Arizona State. The one thing that this game has that those two didn't have, the team they're playing this week has USC across the chest, right? I mean, it's not one of the lower level Pac-12 teams. They're going to be up for this. Heisman winner, Lincoln Riley. So I think you're going to get a lot better effort out of Washington, and that's my mindset taking the Huskies.
And absolutely, and I can absolutely see that happening. I think the number stinks, if we're being honest.
No, it does. It does.
The number stinks. I get more than a field goal. That was my main reasoning for it. I think that I even think USC can win this game outright.
Well, look, for the Rebels' sake, that would actually be good. We need these teams to start taking some L's, right? So that would work out for the Rebels. I'll sacrifice one bet on this show. I mean, I've sacrificed. I've sacrificed 40 damn near so far. So what's one more?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Hitch.
Like Chad, I had some that almost made it. I really, really like the UCF Cincinnati under 59.5. Cincinnati is hard to watch on offense sometimes, and I even though UCF isn't great on defense and they give up some points, I don't see this number getting anywhere close. And I had Missouri plus 15.5 written down, but obviously that's the wrong play.
I don't know. I took Georgia, so it's probably the big.
Yeah, it's on Georgia, so Missouri may be the right play.
Yeah, that's
I'm
the
just
right
kidding.
play.
I think I'm going to go with Arizona plus 3 at home against UCLA. Arizona beat probably my favorite team outside of the Rebels this year last week with Oregon State. I enjoy watching them play. I've been on them a few times. They let me down last week, but whatever.
Did anybody? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but did anybody see what Oregon State did at the end of the second half last week?
I passed out.
I'm sorry, at the end of the first half. So it was 2 seconds left on the clock, and they faked a field goal.
Yeah. Oh, I did see that.
Yeah. And they didn't get it. And they lost by 3 points.
Yeah.
It was mind-boggling that they decided to do that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that was just because I know you were Oregon State last week, and that was why the hell did you do that?
Yeah, that's wild.
That was weird. But Arizona beat Oregon State last week, who, besides that game, they're a very good team. And I kind of expect them to do the same thing here. I don't know if people know how good Arizona is. I didn't until I watched some of that game last week. They're very efficient.
They're one of the teams that's gotten better and better as the year's gone on.
Yeah.
How did they lose Sparkle is basically what you're saying, Dids.
Yeah.
Well, because they turned it over 5 times.
Well, and I think they're another team that the market just continues to undervalue. They're not. The market isn't moving with Arizona as they're getting better year over year. And I was going to bring up.
And they've gotten better since their quarterback got hurt, right? This backup quarterback has been dynamic.
It's been great. But their 3 losses this year have all come on the road, right? Starkville, and then Washington by I think 7, and then USC by 2, right? Mm-hmm. So 2 of the top teams in the country there, offensively at least. You lose both games by a total combined 9 points, and they're on the road. UCLA's loss; both losses have come on the road this year, and so. I think what it's going to come down to is UCLA's inability to put the ball in the end zone when they get across the opponent's 40, coupled with Arizona's ability to air it out and get in the end zone. I think Arizona wins this game, and I'm surprised that they're a dog here. So I like Arizona at home plus 3. And I'm always going to have a late night game on my docket, and this one was it. So I actually really like it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I do like Arizona in this spot. It's kind of like you said. They're the team that the market hasn't caught up with. It kind of feels like at this point they've really improved as the year's gone on. So I do like them, especially getting a field goal at home here. So all right. So my last pick. is the LSU and Alabama over 61. This is a game where, first of all, we need the Rebels to win it, and or we need the Rebels for LSU
Tigers
to win it. Yeah, and for that to happen, this needs to be a high-scoring game. So that's point A. Nobody's been able to stop this LSU offense so far this year. Jalen Daniels has been incredible with Neighbors out there and all the weapons they have. And they really struggle on defense, obviously, particularly the back half of it. The safeties and DBs have been really bad. And that's one thing that Jalen Milroe can take advantage of. He's really good with the deep ball in that offense. If you're not able to corral him in the pocket, if you let him get outside, he can run on you, but he can really throw it downfield. We saw that in our game in Tuscaloosa, and you've seen it all year long. That's one thing he's been really consistent at. So I think we're looking at a shootout here between LSU, Alabama. I think this one goes, probably up closer to 70, if not into the 70s itself. Two good offenses, one really bad defense, and then an offense that can just score on anybody. So I think, if a 35-32 ends up going over, and I can completely see that one way or another between these two teams. So give me the over 61.
Yeah, I tried to find reasons to get on Alabama myself. That was one that I looked at. I like Alabama in the game, but I agree that there's going to be points scored because that LSU defense, I don't really care who's lined up against them. They're going to get their points. That's just the way they work.
That's right.
So I like that.
Okay. All right. What's your plus money play, Chad?
Them USC Trojan money line.
Oh, yeah.
Plus 150. 1 unit. Keep it simple.
Yeah. Ain't no reason to get weird here.
Nope.
Keep it simple and keep going. All right, Hitch, what about you?
I want to do a money line parlay.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
Just two games though. Colorado State and I forgot the other one. Maryland. Colorado State and Maryland. And it comes out plus 520 on those odds.
Okay.
Penn State against Penn State's going up.
Look, I want Diz to give his play, and then I want to talk about some other games if we got a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we got time. So my plus money play, it's also a 2-team money line parlay. I'm going to take the Ole Miss Rebels and the Jacksonville State Gamecocks here for plus 834. Plus 834. Plus 834, yeah. So Rebels win outright. Jacksonville State wins outright. Maybe kind of get me back into the game. I told
that's a really smart bet. Yeah, no, that's a good bet because it's a small enough money line for the Rebels that you're not getting terrible odds, and it's a huge money line for the other way.
Yeah. You're at like 540, I think, for Jacksonville State, and then it was 150 or something, 155 for Ole Miss. So that boosted up, close to 300 points.
Yeah, I like that parlay. Yeah,
I'm gonna like it better on Saturday when it hits.
That's true.
Yeah. All right, Hitch. So what are some other games that you were looking at? You want to talk about?
I'll start with Maryland and Penn State, right?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Before you do that, real quick, I also want to point out you started the show talking about how you love these unders, and you literally picked one.
That's true. That's true.
Well, it was. I told you I liked
one under is too many, basically the point.
The UCF. Well, I actually have like 8 games written down. I've got the UCF under. I've got the Washington USC under. I've got the Oklahoma State under. And there was another one that I liked, but I ended up going with
none of them.
Yeah, one under is too many.
One, yeah. All right, I just wanted to point that out, but go ahead.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't bring up the Iowa over again this week.
If it would have gotten, if it would have been in the 20s, I would have.
I mean, it's only 30.5. It opened at what, 29?
29.5, I think is what it opened.
Ridiculous.
I'll say this. I know that I have grown as a gambler over this past week because Iowa and Northwestern is a rhythm play, and my spreadsheet also says they score 38 points. So
they're playing in
pulling back and saying nope.
Says the same thing. It wants me to get on that over bad. And
I'm pulling back and saying nope. I am smarter than that. I have learned. I have grown.
That's right.
Well, Brian Ferentz is no longer the OC, so he's done.
Well, no, he is the OC. They're letting him go through the whole game. So
he's just going to let it go for the flea flickers. It's going to be flea flickers and reverse passes now. He ain't got anything else to play for.
What if that's – oh, my God. That would be my favorite story of the entire college football season. Is if Brian Ferentz come out and just started running the annexation of Puerto Rico, flea flickers, and just started putting up points.
Five wide. Here we go. Air raid offense.
Fake calls.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But, all right, so Maryland's at home. They've been not great over the past couple of weeks. They do this every year.
Yep.
Why do I like them this week?
I actually like them, too. I like them. It's what, 8, right? Plus 8?
It is 8, yeah.
8.5.
And I think most of it is how much Penn State struggles on offense. Which, again, I know Maryland struggles on the defensive side of the ball, and Penn State's really good on defense, so it kind of counteracts itself a little bit. But if Maryland can find a way to get in the end zone a couple times, then I think that they would easily cover an 8.5 point spread.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maryland, but Northwestern put up 34 last week against them.
God, well, they're the 16th ranked team in the nation. So.
That's a callback. So if you're confused by what Anthony just said, go listen to that first episode or something, so you don't think that you're drunk.
Way back. They are not the 16th ranked team, though. Just to be clear.
Not even the same show, actually.
I just think Maryland stinks.
Yeah,
but then again, you're right. I mean, Penn State still hasn't beaten anybody this year. I mean, they struggled with Indiana last week. But I could see it. It's going to be a close pin. It's either going to be a blowout for Penn State or it's going to be a nail biter. That's the only way I can see it going. Which is a way to go.
Well, staying in the Big Ten, I'm shocked that not 1-3 of us picked Rutgers. As much as we like Greg Schiano and those big double-digit point spreads against good teams, I like that.
I don't know how Rutgers scores.
I don't either. That's always the question.
I was going to get on Tennessee. So Tennessee opened at 30.5 or 30 against UConn. It's 30. Once it got to 35, and I wanted to get on Tennessee. I still like Tennessee, but I don't like 35.5.
Yeah, that's
it's
up over 35 now.
I'll tell you a game. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season that this game would be on my sheet that I was paying attention to, and I might watch one snap of on this Saturday, I would have called you a liar. But two teams that are trending up right now, this is going to be a fun game. Georgia Tech and Virginia. It's going to be a fun game to watch because both of those teams are trending upwards. I actually like Georgia. I think Georgia Tech's a dog in this one, a small one.
Oh, really?
I like
a 2-point dog at Virginia.
Yeah, 2.
Oh, wow.
I like Georgia Tech.
Britt Keys has done a really good job since he's taken over.
That defense is really, really bad. I mean, Boston College put up 38 because I had Georgia Tech against them. But both teams, I guess, both Virginia and Georgia Tech have knocked off North Carolina the last 2 weeks. So they both knocked them off.
I think that says more about North Carolina than anything.
It absolutely does. It's the curse of not having Orlando anymore. Boston College.
Who are they playing this week?
This was interesting. This week, I don't know.
I saw it earlier. Yeah,
it was an interesting one.
It is Syracuse. Friday night.
Yeah.
I looked for reasons to get on Syracuse. I found 0.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I wanted to get on Syracuse. I looked at it, and there was nothing there that would allow
nothing there. That they have just fallen off a cliff.
Yeah, they're bad. Neighbors is really in trouble there.
Yes.
Georgia Southern, Texas State under, right? It's like 70-something, and I think both of those teams like to run the ball a lot. So you've got that continuous clock that's going to go 70. 70 is going to be tough to get to with that.
I'll tell you a game Saturday that'll be really, really fun to watch. James Madison at Georgia State. James Madison's minus 5.5 going to Georgia State. Those two teams have played really well. James Madison, I know I've said on the show, I think it's the best Group of 5 team in the entire country. There's well this year. But
my rhythm model like James Madison.
Yeah, mine does too, and that's who I'll probably end up getting on by the time the game comes around. But that's just a really fun game to watch, even without betting it, because those are two really fun teams to watch. Georgia State quarterback's really athletic and makes some plays, and Statesboro is a pretty tough place to play too.
You know, I talked a few minutes ago about how the numbers stunk with USC and Washington. Here's another one that really, really stinks.
Okay.
Mississippi State, 3.5-point dog at home against Kentucky.
Yeah.
It feels like an odd. You have to get on Kentucky here, right?
That
was my initial thought when I saw it earlier. Yeah.
We talked about this one yesterday. It just.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know how State scores enough to cover this thing. Now Kentucky hadn't been playing worth shit either. So
no,
maybe it's just another Auburn and Mississippi State rock fighter, or Arkansas Mississippi State, probably more like that 7-3 game. But yeah, I don't get it one bit. I figured it'd be a bigger number than that, but I saw that earlier today too.
If you want to get crazy, here's a free one: the Rice and SMU game. I would throw some money on that Rice money line.
They've been
I don't know what the number is, but the line is like 10.5 or 11.
12
I think
now.
12.
Oh wow!
I'll be on Rice. I was on them last week.
That was they can score enough to cover a number that big.
Yeah, the SMU defense is better than you think it is when you look at the numbers, but I think Rice is just going to keep throwing, and I mean, hit a couple of big plays. Who knows? But it's worth.
I haven't looked into it, so I don't know one way or another. Just
I think the odds
that big.
For me, the odds are enough to, if you throw $5 or $10 on it, you're going to win. You're going to win a bill, So take a flyer for $10. Why not?
Yeah.
I think that's all I have.
Yeah, the only other game that I looked at, I do like. I like South Alabama against Troy.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow night. It's dropped from 5.5 to 4. That's a rivalry game. Both teams
too, man.
Alabama.
I like it.
I like South Alabama. It's a low total, 44. Troy's obviously been on a pretty big heater the last couple of weeks.
Troy is really gotten it going here lately.
What'd you say it was now? 4?
It's 4. So I mean, it's still not a key number. But you get that, if it's a field goal game, you get the cover. And
I got Alabama. I got South Alabama winning.
I like South Alabama this weekend. It's actually tomorrow night, so Thursday night.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it either. I knew that game was coming up on Thursday night. It's just not one I've looked into yet. I didn't even know it had gone down to 4. Last I saw it was 6.5 earlier in the week, so that thing's really moved back down. So
I really liked it. I wanted to get on it for the show because I've got South Alabama winning, but man, that Troy defense is stout.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's real good. So, all right, guys. Well, if y'all ain't got nothing else, we'll go ahead and get out of here for the week. Y'all good?
Yeah, we're gonna get up some more units, keep this lead going.
Yeah, and I hope you do. I hope you do.
I do too.
Then we'll be back here next week talking about the giant game in Athens next weekend between the Rebels and the Bulldogs.
It's going to be all 5 of my picks. It'll be all 5 of my picks. I'm going to have some props. I'm going to have a total, a line, money line.
Yeah. I'm at least going to do the spread, money line, and total next week.
Right. So I'll just keep expanding my lead then. Sweet.
Right, cool. Or maybe we'll close the gap. You never know.
No, it's insurmountable for you.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all doing this again. We'll holler at y'all next week.
I love y'all.
Bye-bye.